This presentation is a part of our problem solving workshop, and we are happy to share this information with you. So let's get right into this video. Before we dive into the details, here's a quick overview of what we'll be covering in this presentation. We'll begin with the introduction. We'll provide some background on Trinidad and Tobago's heavy reliance on imported food and why we chose to focus our project in the community of Marabella. Next, we'll outline the objectives and purpose of the project. We'll explain how we engage with the community, what we hope to achieve, and how the initiative promotes sustainability and self reliance. After that, we'll walk you through our methodology. This includes the primary data we collected from surveys with over 50 households and the secondary research we did using articles, government sources, and university publications. Then we'll move into problem identification, where we highlighted the challenges Trinidad and Tobago faces, particularly its rising food import bill and the impact this had on household food security. From there, we'll share our data analysis. This includes key findings from our survey, such as household size, gardening experience, crop preferences, etc. Then we'll get into the implementation phase where we break down how we build the grow box using recycled tires. Next, we'll present on our discussion where we reflect on what worked well, the sustainability of our design, how it compares to similar projects, and then we'll wrap it up with our conclusion summarizing the key outcomes, lessons learned, and future improvements. So let's get started.
Good day everyone, my name is Ariana Romain and today I will discuss with you the methodology, problem identification and data analysis. So we'll start off with the methodology. The methodology revolves around how we would have went about collecting primary data and secondary data. So primary data would have been the data that we collected through the questionnaire that we distributed. So we distributed 65 questionnaires and we received 58 responses. So within the questionnaire, we would have explored factors such as what design person would have preferred, what gardening experience they have, what is their food bill like for the month, how many people live in the house with them, and what were their preferred crops to plant at home if they were to invest in a home gardening system. Additionally, we directly interacted with residents in the community, and this helped us to gain valuable insights about the challenges that they may have been facing. With respect to secondary data, this is data that would have been collected by someone else and already published in a website or an article or even the newspaper. So some of our secondary data would have come from The Guardian, The Newsday, so those would be newspapers, websites such as the Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries, the Ministry of Trade and Industries, and school websites, educational websites such as the University of the West Indies, and these websites would have provided data or information rather on the food import bill, government policies and incentives around agriculture, and what opportunities there are for sustainable local food production. So now we'll talk about the problem identification, and this surrounds the reason of taking this initiative to have this home gardening system in place. So first of all, our food import bill usually averages around 5 billion annually. However, in recent times, it has reached 7 billion, and as a result, it has consumed more foreign exchange than it usually would. So this increase in food costs could be due to pandemics. So we had COVID back in 2020, and that lasted for a few years. We have the Ukraine-Russia war. I know we would import a lot of grains from Ukraine, and then we may have had an increase in fuel, which could lead to an increase in transportation for our food that we import. Another thing, the dependence on foreign food has become overly high, and this will discourage local farmers, and this will lead to reduced investment and loss of agricultural skills over a period of time. So the demand for forex, or foreign exchange rather, has been greater, and so the country will now struggle to pay for other important imports. So to kind of battle or combat this rising food import bill, the government has taken some initiatives to promote agriculture within the country. So first, they have an agricultural incentive program which seeks to foster the growth and development of various agricultural sectors, and it wants to encourage farmers to increase production, promote good agricultural practices, encourage environmental preservation and the conservation of natural resources, along with promoting the youth in agriculture. So you would want to encourage more younger persons in agricultural practices. So the incentives will help pay for things like land preparation, machineries and equipment, soil conservation, post-harvest and marketing, waste management, and more. Another thing is an agricultural stimulus package, which seeks to support the rapid expansion and production and marketing of high demand crops such as some vegetables, legumes, grains, fruits, and small livestock, which there will be quality seeds secured for all of these vegetables, legumes, grains, etc. And the use of an alternative feedstock will also be encouraged. And lastly, the government has also put in place a predial larceny measure. So they implemented the Predial Larceny Prevention Act, and there's a predial larceny squad. So obviously there's a need for local solutions. So this local solution would be this home gardening system or grow box. So the home gardening system should offer a feasible low-cost way to reduce things like grocery bill, support food security, and to a greater extent contribute to lowering the food import bill. So now we'll talk about the data analysis, and this would have been the data collected from the questionnaires that would have been distributed. So with respect to the household information, the majority of respondents were aged 18 to 25 years. However, 32.7% of the respondents were 25 years and older, and this would indicate better decision makers, and they would hold more resources to invest in a home gardening system. Most of the respondents were not sole providers within the household. However, there could be cooperation within the household. And households typically had 3 to 5 members, which implied a medium-sized garden system. With respect to employment and financial readiness, 60.3% of the respondents were employed, which shows the financial capacity for a small investment. And most households would have spent at least 600 to 900 or more monthly on food, which is a reason and strong motivation for home gardening, since the monthly bill is quite costly. So a home gardening system in this case could help lower your monthly food bill. With respect to having gardening experience, 46.6% of the respondents are beginners in gardening, and this will highlight the need for a simple, user-friendly system that's also low maintenance and cost-effective. With respect to crop and design preferences, the most frequently purchased crops when asked would have been lettuce, cucumbers, peppers, and shadow many. The preferred crops to grow, however, would have been lettuce, peppers, and shadow many, and this could be due to its accessibility, its high utility. It was easy to grow and maintain, cost effective, etc. And with respect to our design preference, most respondents chose the self-sustaining tire system as it was affordable, so the tires could be free. They could be old used tires, so you can use free. It's easy to set up and water efficient with the self-sustaining water system. When asked about the space on the water supply, respondents indicated that they have at least 3 by 3 feet or 9 square footage of space or 25 square footage of space. So that should be enough space for a small or medium-sized gardening system. And almost half, so approximately 44.8% of respondents receive water less than once per week. So this suggests the need for a system that is water efficient. So a drip irrigation system might be best. When asked about accessibility, 25.9% knew someone that had a disability, such as an amputation, autism, cerebral palsy, someone may have a visual impairment, and injuries, other injuries that could cause a physical mobility issue or a disability. So with that being said, it's important that the system or the grow box should be inclusive and ergonomic for everyone, because we want to stick with our inclusivity.
Pleasant good day, everyone. Welcome to our implementation section. So here we would discuss a few things. Firstly, the materials and costing. So these are the different materials we use and how much everything would have costed. We used use car tires, 2x4 wood, steel rod, soil with composite mixed in, plastic water bottle, one plastic water bottle, sheeting, lattice fence, lettuce, and the 3 crops we use in addition to our materials was lettuce, pepper, and shadow many. So everything in total costed us $601.83. But it is also important to note that some of the stuff we got could actually be obtained for free. Some of the stuff that we got is things that companies give away and basically stuff that you wouldn't necessarily need to go purchase. Yeah. So now for a very brief rundown of our construction process, we firstly arrange the tires in a triangular cluster to save space, as compared to if we were to line up all the tires in a straight line. This would have required more space. It would have been a bigger sacrifice in terms of your yard area, right? We fill the tires with compost and rich soil. We set up the barricading galvanized sheeting to the left side of the gardening system. We also built a gravity-fed, basically an irrigation system that operates in terms of gravity as it pertains to the flow of the water. And we use a perforated or the plastic bottle, which we pierced using a heat gun, right? And this was tied to a steel rod and placed to the center of the three tires. And we connected a hose for the slow and even water distribution. And lastly, we planted the seedlings in the center of each tire.
Close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
And this is our grow box. And this is lettuce, this is the peppers, and this is the banana, shadow bunny. Okay, bye.
So now, in terms of our plant maintenance, we did daily checks on the plants. In terms of the soil moisture, presence of pests, even if there were weeds growing, so we kept monitoring in terms of these aspects. We continue to water the plants. The drip system that we built, the water irrigation system with the plastic bottle and the hose, this minimized waste, since all the water from the hose goes into the holes and then evenly distributes to the plants, as compared to if you have your hose running, there's a lot of water going to one plant and a lot of water going to the other plant, and so on and so on. But ours minimizes waste due to our irrigation system. And in terms of pest control, although because of our sustainable approach, we fully avoided, in terms like spray and insecticides and stuff like that. But for the sake of the project, we still recommended that you use organic methods, and these would include stuff like neem spray. This is the best organic method from what we could have seen, right? So neem sprays in terms of pest control, as a solid organic option. And in terms of harvesting, the lettuce we are estimating 60 to 80 days. And when, in terms of the harvesting, you need to cut out the outer leaves of the lettuce. The peppers will take 60 to 100 days, and this would be a continuous yield. The shadow benny is 30 to 40 days, as these crops are very fast growing. Now, these are some of the challenges we face and some of the things we did to combat these challenges. So, firstly, we had a small gardening space, right? And in order to combat against this, we arranged the 3 tires that we were using in a triangular manner, so that I would use the least amount of land area, as I would have mentioned before, right? In terms of animal and wind interference, we installed a galvanized sheet. The galvanized sheet to reduce visibility of the crops, and to offer some measure of barrication to reduce the disruption from the wind. So it would have provide some sort of blockage and invisibility from little animals like frogs and crickets and any animals that would basically affect plants in any negative way. And we also did it to offer some measure of wind protection. In terms of water waste, We used a slow drip water irrigation system, and it was set up to use the appropriate amount of water without wasting too much water. And lastly, we use soil losing nutrients. So this was basically why we use compost, so that you would have more retention and you would just have more nutrition in the soil, which would be overall better for the plants. In working towards sustainability, our grow box had the following eco-friendly features. Firstly, we use recycled materials such as tires and plastic bottles. There were also no synthetic materials in our grow box project. We only use organic compost, and we also had energy-free irrigation, since all we use for our irrigation system was the plastic water bottle connected to the hose. And in terms of waste reduction, we divert tires from landfills. In our project, environmental safety was not the only thing that we took interest in. We also took interest in the safety of humans, in the sense that our project was very simple to construct. Our project was very basic in nature, and as a result, it only required a few tools and a few PPE during the construction process. The few tools needed was handsaw, hammer, shovel, a garden trowel, and a snipper, and there were no power tools used, which stressed what I just said in terms of the safety. And this also made the construction process easier, which goes a long way in fulfilling one of the goals of the project, in terms of it being a DIY, do-it-yourself at home type of project. And in terms of PPE, we only use disposable gloves, disposable plastic aprons, and we use closed-toe shoes as well. So lastly, for the implementation, are the things that we expect to accomplish from this project. So firstly, in terms of household benefits, we hope to provide others with an opportunity to attain fresh, affordable produce, as well as to lower their grocery bills. And in terms of our community impact, we hope to have our educational outreach through the insightful video, which you would have seen attached a few slides ago as well. And this overall video that would be uploaded to YouTube as well for anyone to see. And lastly, we would also like to encourage others to replicate this themselves and see the benefits of using such a system as this in your own space and in your own backyard. And yeah, that is everything for implementation. Thank you.
One of the most important outcomes of our project was seeing how well the self-sustaining grow box actually works in real life. Using only 3 recycled car tires, compost-enriched soil, and a gravity-fed drip irrigation system, we were able to successfully grow lettuce, shadow bunny, and peppers, all the crops that are in high demand in local households. What's significant here is that the system worked with minimal inputs, no electricity, no chemical fertilizers, and no complicated tools. This proves that even with limited space, resources, and experiences, families in Marabella can grow their own healthy, affordable food right at home. It's a powerful example of how simple solutions can have a real practical impact, especially in communities facing rising food prices and limited access to fresh produce. So from a functionality standpoint, our grow box delivered exactly what it promised. A low cost, sustainable way to support household food production. While building the grow box was important, what made this project truly meaningful was that it was designed specifically for the Marabella community, based on their own feedback and their lived experiences. Through our survey of 58 households, we learned a lot about the people we were trying to serve. Most of the respondents were between the ages of 18 and 25, and many lived in households of 3 to 5 people. This told us that the grow box needed to be space efficient and easy enough for beginners to use. Another important finding was that 25.9% of respondents were either had a disability or knew someone who did. That immediately influenced our design. We made sure the system could be accessed without bending too much, didn't require heavy lifting, and used tools that were safe and simple to handle. We also considered the fact that most respondents were employed, so we focused on building a low maintenance system that wouldn't take up too much time or effort. In short, our design wasn't just about growing food. It was about making sure that anyone in the community could use it, regardless of their physical ability, experience, or space. That's what makes this a community centered solution. It was built with them, for them. One of the strongest aspects of our grow box is how it supports both ecological and economic sustainability. On the environmental side, the system is built almost entirely from recycled or reused materials. We repurposed old car tires that would have otherwise ended up in a landfill and used a plastic bottle to create a gravity fed irrigation system, which doesn't require any electricity or mechanical parts. We also use compost enriched soil, which helped us avoid synthetic fertilizers and reduce chemical runoff. And by watering plants slowly through the drip system, we minimize water waste and ensure that the plants received just the right amount of moisture. On the economic side, this entire system costs less than a few hundred TT dollars. That's extremely affordable, especially when you consider that crops like lettuce, peppers, and shadow benny are household staples and can be harvested multiple times per cycle. If a household saves just $30 a month on groceries, the grow box pays for itself in less than a year. And after that, it continues to produce healthy food at almost no cost. So when we look at sustainability, our grow box ticks all the boxes. It's eco-friendly, it reuses waste, it lowers monthly expenses, and it builds long-term resilience, all while promoting local food production. While AgroBox was designed specifically for the Marabella community, it's part of a much larger global movement towards sustainable urban agriculture. One strong example comes from Haiti, where the Papai Peasant Movement, or MPP, has been using similar tire gardens to help families grow their own food. Their 5 tire planters are enough to feed a family of 4 for an entire year. They've shown that with just soil, compost, and reused tires, communities can become more food secure, even in difficult conditions. Another example is from the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, which also promotes urban tire gardens in food insecure areas. These, system, these systems are low cost, water efficient, and produce enough vegetables to meet almost all household needs. Just like our grow bags, they focus on recycling, organic practices, and self sufficiency. Even here in Trinidad, we've seen local examples of tire gardens being used creatively in small spaces. It's clear that people are looking for smart, sustainable ways to grow food at home. And our project fits right into that movement. What makes our grow box unique is that it combines global inspiration with local needs. We took a proven concept and adapted it to suit the budget, lifestyle, and physical environment of the Marabella community. So, in many ways, this project isn't just about one community, it's a part of a growing international effort to make urban gardening more accessible, affordable, and impactful. Beyond growing vegetables, this project has shown us that a simple grow box can play a real important role in supporting food security and building community resilience. Right now, Trinidad and Tobago's food import bill has reached over $7.3 billion. That means we depend heavily on imported food, which can make us vulnerable to global price changes, shipping delays, and shortages. Projects like ours help reduce that dependency one household at a time. When families can grow their own lettuce, peppers, or shadow benny, it reduces the pressure on their grocery bills, especially for fresh produce. But the grow box doesn't just save money, it also encourages a healthier lifestyle by making fresh food more available and showing people what exactly goes into what they eat. On a community level, we noticed something really powerful. This project brought people together. Residents shared soil, swapped seedlings, and offered advice and asked questions. There was even talk of starting a community seed saving group to support each other in future planting cycles. These are the small but important signs of community resilience. People looking out for one another, gaining confidence, and becoming more self sufficient. So, while the grow box might seem simple, its true value lies in what it grows around it: knowledge, connection, pride, and independence. As successful as our project was, we also recognize that no solution is perfect, and our grow box has its own limitations and opportunities for improvements. The first limitation is scalability. While the system works great for a household or small backyard, it isn't designed for a large scale farming or mass food production. It's best used as a supplement to a family's grocery supply, not a full replacement. Another concern, another concern is long-term durability. Tires are durable, but over time they can degrade and may leach small amounts of chemicals into the soil. For that reason, it is important to monitor your soil quality, especially if the grow box is used for many growing cycles. Always monitor the soil quality. Aesthetics and usability were also things we thought about after testing. In future versions, we'd like to raise the base of the structure on our wooden pallet to improve drainage and make it easier to access. We'd also like to paint the tires to reflect heat and improve appearance. We would also consider adding a slow release fertilizer or vermicompost bin to improve long-term soil nutrition. And also, we'd like to expand the crop selection to include like vine plants or even dwarf fruit trees. From a community standpoint, one limitation was our very small sample size. We only surveyed about 58 persons. Only about 58 persons would have took part in our survey. So we built one prototype based on those responses. Moving forward, we'd love to involve more people, test different soil types, and track crop yields over time. We'd also like to gather more data on long term performance. Overall, these limitations don't take away from the success of the project. Instead, they show us that there's room to grow and that with continued feedback, innovation, and collaboration, this grow box can become an even more valuable tool for food security in Trinidad and Tobago. As we wrap up this project, we reflect on more than just tires, soil, and seedlings. We reflect on what this grow box represents. It's more than a container for crops. It's a container for possibility, a small, low cost innovation that speaks to a much bigger vision. A vision where communities grow what they eat, where waste becomes resource, and where food doesn't have to be imported to be dependable. Through this project, we saw firsthand how recycled materials, a bit of creativity, and strong community input could come together to create real change. Through this project, we engaged with residents, listened to their needs, and developed a grow box system that is simple, affordable, and accessible, even for those with limited space or physical challenges. The benefits go beyond the vegetables. It lowers grocery bills, promotes healthier diets, encourages environmental awareness, and strengthens the bonds within the community. Of course, we recognize that there are limitations. Agrobox won't replace farms, and there are improvements still to be made. But every great movement starts with a small, replicable idea. So we leave this project with pride and with hope that it inspires others to grow not just plants, but knowledge, resilience, and self